When balance has been lost, it may take extremes to get it back. When years pass without something, you may want an excess of what you lack. Greetings, beloveds. This is Amy Caryn Johnson, the Earth Channel, here with you today with a video about and poem about the Mahonia gate of the Diamond Heart Center. Continuing with the fourth in this series, this one representing the June Solstice. So I thought this was appropriate in contrast to the one I did last week, the U gate of the Diamond Heart, representing the December solstice. And I won't get too much into the differences of winter and summer solstices. They will be different based on which hemisphere, the northern or the southern, you are in. But I feel that these plants, these shrubs, trees, vines, represent the solstice regardless of which hemisphere you are in. And the Mahonia in particular represents the June solstice. It has connections to balance. And actually, just a day or two ago, from the time that I'm making this video, I made a live channeled video about the solstice, being the December solstice for the year 2021, coming up soon. And I did talk a little bit about the differences, and yet whenever we go to extremes in terms of light and dark, we're reminded of the limits of the physical world. And so I think whichever solstice you might be experiencing in the near future, or whenever you're watching this video, you will be able to appreciate and benefit from the descriptions of the June solstice, whether it's the longest day or longest night for you. All right, let's get to the message from Mother Earth, Gaia. I will close my eyes and take a few deep breaths now, and feel free to join me if you would like. Hello, this is Gaia. Amy has chosen the Mahonia to represent the June solstice for you, and we agree that it has some wonderful things to offer you in connection to the energies around any June solstice, whenever it may occur, whichever year it may occur. The Mahonia speaks to balance as well as authenticity. It maintains its identity and protects itself through little spines that are very similar to those that happen with holly. And indeed, holly is often used in some of the names for Mahonia, and yet it is just a little bit different. Some types of Mahonia can creep, almost like a vine. Some are more like a shrub, and some even begin to reach the height of what you might consider a tree. Mahonia gets yellow flowers and blue, even purplish color berries. And it can be used medicinally to help balance your physical bodies. We do not recommend that for anyone, since we cannot speak to each and every one of you individually. We only know that it has been used in those ways. Since the Mahonia tends to be a lower growing plant, it exemplifies humility in some ways. And yet, as we began to say a moment ago, with the little spines, it maintains itself, it protects itself very well, protects its identity, its integrity. And so this idea, concept, is connected to the June solstice in a similar way by showing you the energies of extremes that may sometimes be needed in your life in order to maintain your own identity, your own path, whatever you know that it needs to be. And sometimes you only know what it needs to be after you have gone down a path that is not for you long enough in order to be able to tell for certain that it is not good for you. And you have suffered the ill effects. And so once you have experienced something like that, you may find yourself going off in such a completely different direction that on the one hand, it may be truly what you need for a time, and on the other, it may bring you into a different kind of imbalance before too long. Whatever the case may be, you are learning. You are learning in a very clear way what it is that you do truly need, how to get into balance, what is the correct amount of this and that in your life for you. Humans are communal creatures. We love to be social, at least to a degree. There are a rare few who prefer solitude for much more of the time, but the vast majority of humanity needs connections of some kind with other people. And yet, oftentimes, this is the source of the imbalance for you individually. there are ways for you to maintain balance and be social. They do not have to be mutually exclusive. But that is why oftentimes it takes something that seems extreme in order for you to understand the nature of the imbalance. So give gratitude for those messages when they come, even though they may be unpleasant. They are the clearest possible messages you could ever receive. And once you do receive them and really consider them, how to move forward from there in a way that is best for you, usually that message will also tell you the ways in which you can move forward while still maintaining those connections which are still good for you as well, in whatever way that they are good for you. Usually the message is not for you to go into seclusion forever. Maybe for a time, maybe short periods, from time to time, but rarely, if ever, will it mean that you have to go into solitude for even an extended period necessarily. Amy has not spoken of ascension for quite some time. We want to assure you that you are all still on that path to ascension together. We are speaking to those of you watching this video, as there may be others who do not find it because they do not resonate with it. But on this timeline that we are speaking of, everyone is ascending together. No one will be left out. And that is also why it is taking a little longer. And yet, this way is much more pleasant than you might think. Some of you may be impatient, and yet, if you can celebrate the small steps along the way, you will have a much more enjoyable ride. That is the message of balance. That is the message and the energy associated with June solstices. And we do not believe we have mentioned this yet, but that is the energy of the 15th gate of the I Ching, the Book of Changes, and the 15th hexagram. We thank you so much for joining us for this message today. Namaste, beloveds. Yes, I don't think I mentioned it at the beginning, but this Mahonia gate is associated with the 15th gate in human design and in the I Ching, the hexagrams, of which there are 64, of course. I have spoken of this a lot in previous videos, but I try to at least speak to it briefly in each video just to ensure that you are making the connections in case this is the first video you're watching. So thank you so much for watching this video, assuming you are, you've gotten this far. And I encourage you to check out the readings and messages available on my website at amycarynjohnson.com. Check the spelling. Caryn is spelled C-A-R-Y-N. The rest is as expected. I offer them at half off right now with the coupon code YES, Y-E-S, all capitals. I think that may matter. So be sure to take advantage of that before the end of 2021. That means that you can get a message for as little as $16.50. Very accessible for many people. If you are going through a hard time and even that is not accessible to you, please send me an email message at my email address, which I will put in the description below. And I will offer, I have not done this yet for the month of December, a free 12-minute recorded channeled message to the first person to email me. And I will open that up to anyone, even Jeff, who got one last month. And I hope that you are all having a wonderful holiday season, wherever you may be. I do these messages at least once a week. As I mentioned earlier, I did do a live channeled message a day or two ago. So oftentimes I am doing 2 messages a week. This is the 4th of an 8-part series, and I'm adding it to a playlist for these 8 videos. So be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell button to be notified when the next videos come out. Thank you again for joining me. Namaste, beloveds. And here is the second half of the Mahonia Gate poem. Although excess caused the trouble you're in, now you know for sure the effect. Carelessness may trigger a need for mothering, and obsession a need for neglect.